gentlemen. Welcome to the Aspire Sports Show. I'm your host, Tyler, and I'm going to be talking about Week 6 buy and sell players. But before we get into that, we have some exciting news here at Aspire Sports. So we are now affiliated with Thrive Fantasy. Thrive Fantasy is a sports betting app that specializes in player props. And obviously here at Aspire Sports, we really want to focus on fantasy football along with player props. So Thrive Fantasy is a growing betting app that has given out over $1,400,000 in prizes since 2018. They have NFL, MLB, NBA, PGA, and even esports. We will be giving you our favorite player prop bets for NFL as we get closer to the weekend and as lines, become more available because right now they're not available. But we'll make sure that we include our favorite bets for this upcoming weekend. Thrive Fantasy can be found on the Google Play Store and also the Apple Store. You can also sign up at thrivefantasy.com. If you sign up right now and use the promo code ASPIRE, that's ASPIRE, you will receive an instant deposit match up to $50 for your first deposit of $20 or more. So you sign up for $35, you could get an instant deposit match of $35. Who doesn't like some free money, right? So sign up today at Thrive Fantasy. Prop up. Well, sign up or prop up. You know what I'm saying, baby? Remember to gamble responsibly. Okay? Gamble responsibly. With that being said, make sure you hit that like button. Subscribe. Share with your friends because we're growing here. We're growing. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into it. I'm going to be bringing you the Week 6 buy and sell segment here. I want to just say this as a little disclaimer here. You got to remember these things for when you're trying to trade in your league, when you're trying to buy and sell players. Every league is different. So you're going to have players who just don't want to trade. Unfortunately, just don't want to trade. You're going to have other players that love to trade, like myself. I love to trade. Treat this as like a little business, right? You got to barter. Don't always give them your best offer. Try to lowball it a little bit. Not too much we're going to really, really offend them, right? But lowball it a little bit. Barter, going back and forth until you find a good deal. You always want to buy low and sell high. Don't try to buy somebody that just had a great week, right? You want to try to sell players that have a great week out of nowhere. And we'll kind of talk about some of these players, but always trust your instincts. You can go and ask a bunch of people, hey, is this a good idea? Is this a good idea? You'll get yes or no's. Just go with your gut. And if you ever have any questions, here at Aspire Sports, we can definitely help. That's Aspire Sports _ on Twitter, or also you could always get at me at Tyler Health, HELF, on Twitter, and I'd be happy to answer your questions. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get into our first one here. So our first buy of the week is David Montgomery. I see a lot of people on Twitter that say, oh gosh, should I trade him or what? Listen, David Montgomery has played Indianapolis and Tampa Bay the past 2 weeks. Fourth rush defense in the league and second rush defense in the league. And this has been without Tariq Cohen. He's seen 34 opportunities the past 2 weeks. 14 targets the past 2 weeks as well. So getting a lot of opportunities. The schedule is going to start getting easier here, especially this week against Carolina. This offense needs a little bit of time to gel with Nick Foles. Going forward, he's going to be a bell cow on a average offense, but bell cows are always players that you want. So right now, I think this is a good buying opportunity. This is probably the last buying opportunity you have for David Montgomery, so someone I would try to buy going forward. And let's go into our next one here, and that's Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So Clyde Edwards-Helaire, it has been great if you drafted him, sometimes like 5th overall in the fantasy draft this year, definitely in the first round. But this is a good buying opportunity, in my opinion. Yes, they just signed Le'Veon Bell. But to me, this is somewhat like a Ronald Jones, Leonard Fournette, where everybody was like, oh, Leonard Fournette's going to control the backfield, right? And it hasn't really happened. Yes, he's been hurt, but also Ronald Jones looked good. The Chiefs drafted Clyde with their first round pick this year. Andy Reid was comparing him to Brian Westbrook and these different players. So to me, yes, they have Le'Veon coming in, and this definitely caps his ceiling, but this is the best offense in the league, right? It can support multiple running backs. And to me, Clyde's going to be the guy. Now, sure, it's probably going to be maybe like a 60-40 split, but he's not going to be somebody playing the 40%. I don't think so. You have Clyde Edwards-Helaire managers panicking right now, and I think this would be a really good opportunity to get get him for cheap. I don't think you can get him for super cheap, but get him cheaper than he's ever been. So I would definitely buy in this situation. Next one, Dallas wide receivers. Now, I mean, really Dallas players anywhere, even if you can get Zeke somehow, but I don't think you can get Zeke. But so mainly the Dallas wide receivers. Yes, Dak is done for the season. Andy Dalton really hasn't been that terrible of a quarterback. He's had a top five finish before. Would have had probably another top five finish, but he broke his thumb. So he's shown before he can be a fantasy quarterback in a good offense with good weapons around him. In Dallas right now, he probably has maybe the best offensive skill players around him right now. Yes, he did have AJ Green and Marvin Jones, two very good wide receivers. But right now, he has Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup isn't bad, and has Zeke in the backfield. The offensive line isn't great, but this is also a defense that is terrible. So he's going to be throwing the ball a ton. I believe Dallas is averaging the most passing attempts in the league this year. So expect them to have a lot of opportunities. Me personally, I just don't see the Dallas wide receivers being downgraded as much as a lot of people think they are. So I think there's a good buying opportunity here. So I would definitely go out and try to get them. So Deontay Johnson is going to be the next person I'm going to talk about. And the reason why is because everybody's in love with Chase Claypool, right? I mean, he has looked really good, don't get me wrong. But Deontay Johnson, before he got hurt, now he had a concussion in week 3, and then this past week hurt his back. I've seen that he's been limited in practice, has at least been practicing, and before he got hurt in week 3, he was seeing a 31% target share. That is a massive target share in an offense, and a pretty good offense. So I really don't think that Chase Claypool is going to come and take over this offense. I believe that going forward, Deontay Johnson is a very good talent. And I believe that going forward, he's still going to be heavily involved. Probably isn't going to see the over 30% target share, but he's going to see a higher number than what he's seeing now. And I've seen on Twitter people have been dropping him. So I believe that the expectations right now for him are pretty low. So he's a good buy low opportunity right now. Next person I'm going to talk about, let's go ahead and switch this. And let's talk about James Robinson. James Robinson is a player that right now is in ninth in fantasy points amongst running backs. And I think that good managers aren't going to say aren't going to give him up for cheap. But if you're going to have some people who are definitely going to say, yeah, this is it for him. He plays on Jacksonville. It was a good ride. Just because sometimes when players aren't highly touted, they're not highly respected in the league. They kind of get passed off when they have a bad game. Oh, I knew this was going to happen. So you kind of have people that give up a little bit. And I think after this week, he had a bad week, and I feel like people have just been waiting for this to happen. He's seen his highest targets this past week with 7. So I think that going forward, yes, he didn't have the great week, didn't get in the end zone. But going forward, he's going to be a very good option on a team that's not very good, but he's going to see plenty of opportunities. So he's somebody that I would definitely try to buy. And let's go to the next one, Cam Akers. So, and I probably already said that James Robinson was the last one, but Cam Akers is the last one here. So Cam Akers. For me, this is just a gut call. They drafted him in the second round this past year. He was very good in college, and I think going forward, they want him to be the guy. He's seen his best game this past week, so I believe, total gut call, but I believe that they want to have him be the guy at some point in the season. So I think it's going to come sooner rather than later. So I believe right now you could probably get him for pretty cheap. So I would hop on that as soon as I can. And hopefully he ends up being the guy, which I feel like he probably is at some point. Just a gut call. I could totally be wrong, but he's the last one here. So let's go and talk about some of the sells. Actually, he'll be the second person, Chase Claypool. So remember, these aren't guys that you're just selling for pennies. Okay, you're not just trying to get rid of them to get rid of them. You sell high, you buy low. These are guys that are coming off the best games of the season that you could probably sell to a team that might be in need for a wide receiver depth. They might have a couple guys on buy this week, and they need somebody. So these are good people that I would try to sell. The first one is going to be Brandon Cooks. I do like Brandon Cooks going forward, honestly. I don't think that he has underperformed. Obviously not last week because he had a really good game. But on the season, he's kind of underperformed a little bit. That offense has just needed a little bit of time. But he's coming off the best game of his season. So maybe you could try to sell him at his absolute peak. Does he have another good game like this? Probably not as good as this game. But I do like him going forward. But I think he's somebody, remember, buy low, sell high. So he's somebody who I think you could probably get decent value for, especially for a team that might need a wide receiver this week. And let's just get into the next one here, and this is somebody who absolutely sell high. This is Chase Claypool. I just don't see him seeing the field as often as he did in this game going forward with Deontay Johnson coming back. He's not going to get the opportunities like he did in this game. He's not going to have 4 touchdowns like he did in this game. I just think that, number one, Steelers fans. There's a lot of Steelers fans. Sell him to a Steelers fan. There's got to be a Steelers fan in your league. Wants him probably pretty bad, and also with guys that do really well like this out of not nowhere, but have this really crazy game, people love to chase points. Never chase points. Trying to sell this, Chase Claypool, to somebody that likes to chase the points, especially to a Steelers fan where you'll probably get your max value out of them. Now, I'm not saying you'll be able to get like a wide or running back number one, right? But some people I would try to sell them for, like Cam Akers, Ronald Jones, Justin Jackson, because I really don't see him having that much value going forward because there's a lot of mouths to feed in Pittsburgh. And I just think it'd be better to get somebody, especially a running back, going forward with some pretty high upside if the cards fall the right way, right? You have Ronald Jones. He's looked really good, and Fournette keeps being out. Maybe he just has this backfield now. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get into our next one, and this one's going to be Le'Veon. I know everybody's excited for Le'Veon not taking over, but going to Kansas City. I just think that we have no idea what his role is going to be. I don't envision him coming into this backfield and just starting. I feel like it's going to be a 60-40 split with Clyde Edwards-Helaire leading the backfield, and I think he's going to probably come in on passing down work and also probably some goal line work. But I just think that his last year in Pittsburgh wasn't very good either. He averaged 4 yards per carry, which is pretty bad. Has a lot of miles on his tires right now. I just think it's a sexy situation here where people are going to be like, "Oh man, he's playing for the Chiefs," and they're going to get their hopes up. So I feel like right now is the time to sell to somebody who thinks this is going to be the greatest situation in the world. He's going to lead the team. I just don't see it. Maybe he does, but I just don't think he does, so I would definitely try to sell high. And the next person that we're going to talk about is DJ Moore. He had his best game this past week. He saw 4 catches for 93 yards and a touchdown on 5 targets. Only 5 targets. One of the catches was a 57-yard touchdown, basically run. It was all after the catch. So he's somebody who actually does really well after the catch, though. But this is Teddy Bridgewater and Robbie Anderson's show. In my opinion, it's pretty unfortunate because a lot of us were expecting them to be the number one, but Robbie Anderson's looked really good. You can't take that away from him. And he's somebody who's coming off his best game that I think you could try to sell high. Because if you look at the receptions here, even the targets. I mean, targets against Tampa Bay really high, but after that has been that good. And neither has the receptions. So just going forward, I don't think he's going to provide the value that you invested into him. And I think right now would be a very good opportunity to move on from him, unfortunately, because I was pretty high on him to start the season. Let's go ahead and get into our next person. This one's pretty obvious, Kenyon Drake. If you can sell. You're going to have a lot of fantasy owners that they know what you're trying to do, but you could definitely sell it if you're good at negotiating, right? You got to be smooth. You got to be smooth. But you could also have a team that has been ravished by the injuries. They have a person on bye. They need a running back. You could try to sell to that. Always try to find the people in need and sell high, right? This is a good opportunity. Go to maybe the Dalvin Cook owner. Try to get maybe a wide receiver 2 for him. I just don't see it going forward. The gap is closing each week with Chase Edmonds. He's not really involved in the passing down work. It's just seeing the rushing work. So he's somebody that I just think it's time to sell on. Let's go to the next person, and that's Todd Gurley. Another sell high, right? He had his best week. If you look at his carries, I mean, he's really not getting that many carries on the year. Yes, he had 21 week 2, but since then it has been that many carries, right? He's not seeing any passing down work. He had 4 catches. In the previous 4 games, he had 4 catches combined. So 4 catches this week, Do you think that's going to continue? Me personally, I don't think it's going to continue. And then also, the knee's always a concern. As long as the season progresses and that arthritis gets worse and worse, he's going to not play as much. So I think this is an absolute sell high situation. And the last one here, and I can already hear it. I can already hear the boos. Okay? What are you talking about, DJ Metcalf? You look so good. This one's kind of DJ Metcalf and Mike Evans combined in one. Here's what I'm going to say. Okay? And this one I'm going to try to sell you. Right now, DJ Metcalf has a 27% touchdown to reception ratio. So if he caught 100 passes this year on the pace, on the rate that he's going, he'd catch 27 touchdowns. Ain't gonna happen. Is not gonna happen. He's averaging 22 yards per catch this year. 22 yards. The efficiency is out of the roof. Look at the targets here. Yes, this past week was the best target, and if that's going to be the case going forward, then yes, I don't think you sell, but I don't think that's going to be the case going forward. I think he's going to see what he's been seeing. Look at the receptions. Hasn't gone over 4 receptions except this past week. Is that the trend going forward? I don't think so. I think it's going to be more where he's been, and the efficiency is going to go down. And if the efficiency goes down, so does his production. So right now, he is 16th among wide receivers in targets and 20th amongst wide receivers in catches. To me, the efficiency is going to go down. And right now, his catch rate, his touchdown to reception ratio is ridiculous. I'm sorry, I just don't see this continuing. And I think right now, especially with him going into a bye, you should definitely try to sell high. Because right now, I just don't see this continuing throughout the year, and he's at his ultimate peak. And that's also with Mike Evans, who has the same touchdown to or the same touchdown to reception ratio, except he's seeing even less targets than what Metcalf is. So to me, he's also just a sell high. Touchdowns are incredibly unpredictable, and there's something that you can't rely on going forward. Yes, his yards have been good, but he's averaging 22 yards per reception. It's just not going to continue. So sell high. And I'll take the criticism, right? I can already hear it. People are going to be like, are you kidding me? Why would you sell high on him? He's a sell high for me. So with that being said, remember, hit that like, subscribe, share button. We'd really appreciate it. And promo code ASPIRE for Thrive Fantasy. Thank you all for listening. Have a lovely day, evening, whatever time you're watching.